YouTube? Welcome back. Reminder, if you want to lesson with me, check the link in the description below. Welcome back as well to the Bach 50K3, which we've seen before. This exact instrument. It turns out that it's got a new owner that lives near me, who I know really well. So this horn has followed me here, and I've gotten to borrow it twice now from two different people. I don't have a bass at the moment because I've traded my bell section away. It's gone, and I'm waiting for the new one to show up. And I had to give a lesson, and I needed a bass trombone. So I asked if I could borrow this one, and so I just have it for a couple days. And I thought I would give some more thoughts on it because I've been playing it a lot. I'm really feeling the itch to play a lot of bass trombone. I'm not sure why. I'm really excited for my new bell sections that are coming / being built. And I don't want to play bass trombone. I have all these other instruments, and I'm also playing them. I'm trying to play 2 a day, but I want to play bass trombone. So I've been playing this every day, and it's got some pluses and minuses, and I'd like to go over those. Let's go over the pluses first. Sorry, but it is a shorter list. Let's go over those first. It makes just like one of the better examples of a Bach orchestral sound that I can think of out of a bass trombone. I've had horns that are very close to this, not exactly the same because none of them are the same. And this is just up in the top 10th percentile. Just, man, it makes this nice wide enveloping sound with, as well, this is another pro, a nice articulation to go with it, which is something I kind of missed on my 50B3OG. Something about the response and the sound of that instrument, it responded very fast, but it did not have the same kind of bloom to the articulation that this does. It doesn't have the same kind of weight. The notes spoke instantly on the instrument, but they just kind of started, and there was just note. Whereas this has a little more kind of character to the start of each note. And that's something I really like about Bach yellow bells when they're good, is they kind of add that. And that's kind of where the pros end. There's a lot of middle things where it's just it's okay in tune, I guess, things that you just kind of expect out of an instrument. And then we've got the cons. So first of all, it's really heavy. I've owned heavy horns. My first stainless Thayer horn was really heavy, and then I put a heavier bell on it with a screw bell. It was cut, and that was even heavier, and the weight was in a bad place too. That was a heavy instrument. Played really well. I really enjoyed my time with that instrument. It was heavy. This is a similar kind of heavy, and with the other horn I kind of had there were trade-offs. With the screw bell, I could put it in a small case. The stainless Thayer valves were awesome. I loved those things. They did me a great service for the time that I had them. This is really heavy. It doesn't have a screw bell, and these valves, sorry to say, are not as good as those stainless Thayers. So there's a lot of trade-off for no gain. It's just really heavy. And I never really noticed this in the past because my previous bell section I've been playing for such a long time now, the 50B3OG, was actually quite light. I would say on the lighter side of all bell sections. There's the middle, it was boop, right there. Whereas this is over here somewhere. And so I kind of got used to having this lighter bass trombone, and it felt awesome to have an instrument that didn't impose itself on my body. This imposes itself in a couple ways, and we'll get to the other one in a second. But the weight, there's so much inertia to it. I've been working on my pivot, the way that I move through my ranges, and this literally sometimes stops me from doing that because it doesn't move fast enough, or it is already moving in the opposite direction or something. And I've never run into that. It's kind of a strange feeling. Not a great feeling. Also, it imposes itself because these valves stick out so far. I haven't played a Thayer horn in a while, so I'm not going to say I'm used to that now, but I have played those a lot. And I feel like this is just less comfortable and less good. So also the mouthpiece angle on my face is not the one I'm used to. I'm used to having my neck a little closer to the gooseneck because this stuff is not in the way. And so I have to hold the horn at slightly different angle this way to get everything to be the same. And that's That's not really con. It's something I would probably get used to, but in the immediate short term, yeah, it's a con. The valves. K valves, right? I have one on my Bach 36, and on my 36, I think it's okay. These valves, I think they're okay. They play pretty well through one valve at a time. And then I miss a bunch of E flats and prove you wrong. It feels alright. You know, it's not stuffy, it's not super wide open. I do like the sound through one valve at a time. The G flat valve is also pretty good. It actually plays a little bit better and has a lot of character to the sound. That is not like a bright kind of character we don't want, but just kind of a valve notes kind of a sound. But when you play through two valves, things are not as good. This sound actually doesn't change that much on some rotor instruments when you use two valves and it feels stuffy. It also sounds a little stuffy. It's cutting off some overtones, and that's obviously not a good thing. On this sound stays relatively the same. It just gets way harder to play and a lot less fun to play. Something I really liked about my 50B3OG is that those Shire's rotors were just nice and open, and I could just put some air through them and make a note happen. On this, you are not going to win the battle against the valves. I mean, even just and this is a good way to test a bass trombone, the feeling of going from G at the bottom of the staff to low C. After a while, I kind of get used to it, but there's an obvious decrease in sound and to the player, an obvious decrease in playability. It's just not fun. It's frustrating because it makes a great sound down there, and it's actually pretty even. It doesn't really change. Even the timbre between the pedals and the valve notes are pretty similar. If you practice it, like I haven't really, you can make them sound basically the same, which not all instruments can do. But it's not fun. I don't enjoy it. Also, they're very heavy feeling. You know, they're obviously heavy weight-wise, and just slow. These have been worked on. The owner's done a bunch of work. He's done a bunch of work to the horn in general. He cut the tuning slides, which is why it looks like I'm pulled out so far. Giving himself a lot more wiggle room. But the valves are just slow, and you can't go between valve notes as quickly as you would like. And like most rotors, I would say, the noise between valve changes is not like an agreeable thing. There's an obvious half valve noise that Thayers actually usually don't have. That's one of the best things about them, is the legato is almost seamless. It's kind of just one note, another note. There's no kind of whip or weird thing between the notes. So a lot of compromises with the valve section. Maybe I already said this is my second take of this video. The owner does really enjoy this instrument, and he plays it a lot better than I do, because I think he's more adaptable and just a more advanced player just in like time on the instrument than I am. So for me, the trade-offs that you get with this, the weight, the kind of not lack of playability, but lack of fun of playability, don't really lend themselves to making me want to have one of these. But it does make a great sound, a great articulation, and I'm glad I got to borrow it for a little bit. So that's my second review of the Bach 50K3. See you guys next time.